Hello and welcome to Visiting Dugout, where I was just thirsting over Grady Sizemore to my Red Sox fan and friend, Ed Hand. Ed, welcome back.
Good to
Please.
see you, Crystal. It's good to be back. I wish it was for either of the teams that we follow. I wish it was better circumstances, but
Mhm.
it is what it is, and we've still got another month of baseball to play, so we're still here.
It is painful to be a Sox fan of either.
It's not
It
great.
doesn't really matter the color that they are. It's pretty bad. But I mean, you guys are Red Sox are at least doing better. But before we get into that, what's new with the Red Sox? What's new in Boston?
What's
Anything good?
new in Boston? I mean, the Roman Anthony is like the number two prospect in baseball, according to Baseball America. And Junior Caminero, who's with the Rays, is going to graduate soon. He's the only number one, so he's going to be number one. So I mean, the thing is, and this is where it's just to give you some context here. The team's already surpassed expectations just by being competitive for most of the season, but for I think the fourth or fifth year in a row, they just hit a complete. They just shut down in August. And have just fallen. They were, I think, 11 games above 500 at one point. Now they're back to 500. They're 70 and 70. The last time they were a 500 team, they were 35 and 35. So they've gone 35 and 35 twice in a row now this season. The fall from grace is a lot more painful than the rise up there. So people are understandably pissed. Weirdly, the injuries haven't really been contributing that much to it. Like most
Mhm.
guys have, Tristan Cassis was a big injury earlier in the year. He's back. Other than losing Garrett Whitlock and I mean Lucas Giolito, old friend of yours, but
Yeah.
like that was even prior before the season started. The injuries haven't been that bad. Trevor Story is somehow coming back, even though he was supposed to be out for the season. So like that's cool. They're just gassed. The pitching is gassed. The bats can't do anything. It's been kind of, if it's not one thing, it's another. And when the bats go cold, the pitching is good, but it doesn't matter because so they're losing games like 3-2. When the bats are going good, and they were going good for a while, the pitching was terrible. The bullpen blew, was blowing games left and right. They just can't seem to get on the same page. So that's like, as a fan, that's very frustrating. As somebody that like works with the minor league team and does more of the reporting there, it is a very exciting time to be a Red Sox fan. I mentioned Anthony, but they've also got the number 11 prospect in Marcelo Meyer. The number 3 prospect who's really shot through the system this year, Kristen Campbell.
Mhm.
They're not sure what position he's going to play, but he can hit. He can hit really well, and he's extremely athletic. 26, Kyle Teal, who's a catcher. And you know how having just like a good catcher can change pretty much anything for the pitching, defense, and Teal seems to be somebody that at the very least he's going to play. He's going to play a very good catcher, which if you talk to my co-host Hogdale, Red Sox haven't had in a while. They've also got a couple other guys. Braden Montgomery, their first round pick, is ranked, I think, 66th. And then another guy down in Salem, Franklin Arias, is 94. So a lot of prospects, all offensive prospects, of course. None of these guys are pitchers.
Mhm.
They finally had a guy break the top 100 in Luis Perales. Then he immediately needed Tommy John surgery. So pitching's still a big issue, but that's true for just about every team. They've got some pieces. Tanner Houck's had a good season. Giolito will be back next year. So he'll probably, I think Nick Pavetta's probably going to walk as a free agent. I don't think he's
Mhm.
going to get a qualifying offer. So you'll have Giolito effectively taking his role. Braden Bayo's been better in the second half. He's still very young and learning how to pitch. So Cutter Crawford's been fine. So there have been guys that it's not quite as dire of a situation as, say, the White Sox are right now. No offense meant,
Mhm.
but
No,
like
it's
that.
okay.
When people talk about like a 500 team being a dumpster fire, it's kind of like, well, maybe, but it could be a lot worse. Like, and not even just the White Sox. There's some just very badly run organizations around baseball. The Angels, who didn't trade Shohei Ohtani when they could have gotten a King's ransom, and actually traded their prospect depth for some reason that year to try to make a run, and then immediately dump those guys that they got. I think before the season was even over, just to avoid having to pay them. So I think that might be in the same tier. Rockies just don't trade anybody.
No.
A lot of bad teams around baseball. So, but the Red Sox have just been mediocre. I think if they win 78 games this year, it's going to be the third straight. They're going to be like the Chris Davises of 78 wins. It'll be the third straight season in a row in which they've done that. That's a reference to power hitting. Because I'm sure I know you know this, but if you're listening and you're like, who's Chris Davis? He was with the A's for a few years, and he hit a lot of home runs, but he hit 248 3 straight seasons, which is still like one of the more impressive streaks, I think, in baseball history.
You've also got, because I was looking up to see when Liam was coming back, Liam Hendriks. And he's rehabbing.
He's rehabbing right now. Yeah. He's been with the White Sox and the Sea Dogs. Actually, because I'm in the White Sox clubhouse a couple times, like a home series. I got to talk to him a little bit, and he is exactly who everybody thinks he is. He is exactly who he says he is. And that is a very delightful person. Because I wasn't planning on doing like an interview or anything with him, but it's like, you're there, you want to say hello. And I was like, hey, Liam, you said one of the funniest things I've heard all season. And I think you were like borrowing it from a colloquialism, but it was like, well, I'm not here to fuck spiders. And he goes, oh yeah, I heard Margot Robbie say that.
That sounds like Liam. He is delightful.
I couldn't understand half of the things he was saying. He talks really, really fast, and he's got that accent. But the vibes were incredibly pleasant. Just seemed to be very friendly with everybody, from like the clubbies to, like the top, like Roman-Anthony or Kyle Teel or whoever. He seemed like he was on good terms with everybody, and that's something the Red Sox need right now. There isn't just kind of there isn't like the only guy from the 2018 World Series that's still on the team is Rafael Devers. And Devers is more of a lead by example guy, doesn't like the spotlight, not much of a talker. They don't really have that vocal leader though. So hopefully Liam Hendriks can take some of that load. I get the impression that I get is that he's going to finish the season just like as a middle reliever, a setup guy, because they still have Kenley Jansen. I don't think Jansen's going to be coming back next year. So I think that he'll ascend to the closer role. They've got another guy named Justin Slayton, who was a Rule 5 pick, who I think has the ability to be closer, but he's still pretty young. And I get the impression that they want to have a veteran guy in that role, at least for now. So I could see Hendriks at least getting that to start the season. And, if he takes to it the way he was prior to the the cancer and the Tommy John surgery, then great. And if not, that's still a veteran arm that you're getting at a pretty, it's $5 million a year for him. Yeah. First year he's rehabbing, second year he's actually pitching. $5 million for a guy with his pedigree is a very reasonable deal. So yeah, Hendriks is a guy that I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got. There hasn't been a lot, just from what I've seen in AAA, there hasn't been a lot of swing and miss on his stuff, but he's hitting 95 on the fastball. I think it's usually a little closer to 93. And he's throwing strikes, and that's all you can really ask for. It was a little scary. I saw him take a line drive like right off the thigh, and like the trainer starts coming out, and he's just like waving his hands at them like, I'm fine.
I don't need you.
Yeah, it's like I've been through enough of with all the crap I've been through this year. This is nothing.
Oh, he's charming. My favorite interaction was like pre-White Sox days. Even he was on the A's still, and it was Harold Baines Day at the White Sox game. They were honoring him right after his Hall of Fame induction, and
his totally non-controversial Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, totally.
That everybody was really excited about.
No one had a single opinion on if he was deserving or not. But yeah, we got seats right next to the visiting bullpen. And I wasn't even thinking about it at the time. And he was just down there, like, playing around the entire time. Fans are, like, heckling him, and he's heckling them right back. He does not even care. He was hilarious. And I remember sitting there, and I was talking to Billy, and I was like, gosh, I wish we had, like, a Liam on the White Sox. I wish we had a Liam on the White Sox. And then, like, next year, it's like, oh, hey, so remember when I said I really wanted that guy on our team?
He's here now.
Who is on our team now?
That's so funny when that happens, because I was we were talking, I offhandedly mentioned this I referenced him, but I was a big AJ Pierzynski fan. It's a very long story. I know that's not something that you hear very often, people being, but just off camera, I actually have a picture of AJ in his his Red Sox jersey on my wall here. I had to custom order it because he was here for half a season and he wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But he was just a favorite player of mine growing up, and I was so excited when the Red Sox finally signed him. He was I think the big signing they made that year. He was like the only real guy that had a real pedigree, and he just shat the bed. He just absolutely shat the bed here, and he ended up having another good season in him with the Braves, but man, was that disappointing. But I was so, like, the 3 months leading up to opening day, I was hyped for that. So Liam Hendriks, I would assume at least he lived up to the expectations, probably exceeded them. He was really good with the White Sox.
Yes, we loved him, appreciated him. AJ, another controversial figure. It's funny that you mentioned him because the whole manager search, there's like half these, I don't even want to say half. There's like maybe this 30% of fans, they're like, yeah, AJ should be the next manager. And then there are the 70%, they're like, are you insane? Absolutely not. Or like they also want him to announce. They wanted him to take like John Schriffin's job, which fine, like anybody could at this point. I'd be fine with it. But he signed like a 3-year contract, so that's not going to happen. But I'm like, do you remember how much like he loves the Astros though? Do you want him? Do you want him on our broadcast? Because you hate him there. He's not going to be a great manager. Like, just let him live in like that White Sox infamy of, the 2000s. Like, let's keep him there where we love him, and not
where he belongs in the past,
and not in the dugout where we hate him, or in the announcer booth where we hate him. Like, let's just let him lie there and be himself.
Bring back Ozzie Guillen. Like, what could go wrong?
That's another big name that they're throwing out, and I'm just like, guys, what are we doing here? We need to.
Here's a really crazy idea: Shingo Takatsu, make him the manager.
Yeah,
here's a White Sox deep cut.
What could go wrong? Honestly, nothing.
No language barrier; it's fine.
If they could just stay away from anyone that has had involvement with the White Sox in the last 50 years. I have to say 50 because...
So don't bring Tony La Russa back is what you're saying.
Who knows what's going to happen. Somebody fresh, somebody new. Because I don't think they're going to keep Grady, unfortunately. So I have to find someone new to look at when I'm watching games, because that's all there is these days is, hey, what is Grady Sizemore doing right now? Can you show him?
What is he wearing tonight? Oh, he's wearing his uniform because that is what he wears every day.
As we mentioned before we started recording, we were talking about just slowing down that very recent umpire fight and him throwing gum. And I'm like, this would make some quality material for visual people that need visuals for certain things.
Yeah,
that we want to
stimulation.
Yes, people that just prefer that. Anyway, so we mentioned, they're just chilling at 500, but they're not gonna really pass the O's or the Yankees, who are like obnoxious siblings that fight all the time.
No.
So, I mean, is there a goal heading into next season? Is it just like maybe take Aaron Judge out or something?
I think that listen, they're not actually dead just yet. They've got time. They've got 3 games coming up against the White Sox, and I think that there's a degree of fans that assume that they can just pull that sweep off, which the way they've been playing, and I know, like, the Twins are not the Twins, sorry, the White Sox are like a AAA team. They're like a AA team, whatever. These guys are still big leaguers. There's still a couple of decent players on the team, and listen, every team is going to win and lose a certain amount of games. You can't just go out there and be like, well, it's already over because we're playing the White Sox. Like, they lost, they split with them the last time they played. And I think the White Sox were in the middle of like an 18-game losing streak or something at that point too. So you can't take anything for granted. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you can sweep that and you can keep it close enough that you're within 3 games of the Twins when you have another series against them, then, I mean, at least things are kind of interesting then. There's still technically hope. And like that keeps people invested. But the way they played against the Mets, the way they played against the Tigers, there's not really a lot to believe in right now with them. They've just been in this total collapse, and the at-bats are just bad. Like Cedar Rafaela, who's had a pretty solid rookie season, he's just coming up and striking out on 3 pitches half the time. Rafael Devers is playing on 2 bum shoulders and a bum knee. And, like 50% Rafi Devers is still better than most of the league. Yeah. But you can tell he's pressing. And when he's pressing, there isn't really enough support in the lineup. Too many left-handed bats. Also, lefties are killing them. I'm fully expecting to see, there's this kid on the White Sox, Jared Schuster, I think.
Schuster, yeah.
Yeah, he's a lefty. He's from New Bedford, Massachusetts, and Jewish also. So these are like 2 things that I have in common with him. There you go. So I am a fan. I'm fully expecting them to just start him and he throws 6 shutout innings because he's lefty. And the Red Sox can't hit lefties this year. They just can't. The entire lineup is lefties and Romy Gonzalez.
Schuster's surprisingly, Romy Gonzalez, I love him. Schuster is surprisingly decent. Like, I've not been angry watching him pitch.
He was part of the Aaron Bummer trade. He was like one of the 5, the 5 cast-offs from the Braves that they got. And I kind of like him. Like, he was a pretty high pick, lefty with like decent breaking stuff. I don't think he'd be in the majors right now if he wasn't with the White Sox, but he's a guy that I could see developing into like a nice back end of the rotation starter. But yeah, like lefties are really their weakness right now. It's just too many of their hitters. Tyler O'Neill has to be the streakiest player in the league. Like he's either has like a 900 OPS or he can't hit anything and he's just flailing incoherently around. I mean, Devers is slumping. Jarren Duran's having an awesome season, and that's kind of the one guy that has really been a bright spot through all of it. He's leading the league in not the league. He's leading baseball in both doubles and triples, and if he manages to do that for the full season, he's the first guy to do it since Lou Brock. He's got, I think, 21 home runs, 32 stolen bases, playing a potentially Gold Glove center field. That's a reason why you stick with your prospects, because this is a guy that a lot of Red Sox fans 2 years ago were ready to run out of town. Like they hated Jarren Duran, and he's, become a guy that there is still a degree of immaturity with him. I think he's 27, but there's some of the mentality. He sometimes kind of comes off like a high school kid. People that I know him behind the scenes, basically, from what I've heard, he's not a bad guy. He's just he's a hothead. Yeah. And that's something that, they have to get under control a little better, I think, for him to really emerge into that leadership role. But he's been a really, all-star game MVP. He's probably going to be all MLB, probably going to win a Silver Slugger. Good, legit chance at winning a Gold Glove, which is I think it would probably be in left field. He's played more left field just because of Cedar Rafaela, who has gone back and forth between center field and shortstop. But Duran's been if there's a guy hey, watch out for him, it's Duran. He's somebody that there was a period fairly recently where he had either a home run or a double to lead off a game, 5 consecutive games. Just stuff like that, regularly. On the base pass, he's just he creates havoc because he's so fast. Yeah. And this is listen, the Red Sox aren't exactly known for their speed, but Jacoby Ellsbury stole 70 bases with them 10 years ago. That guy was fast. Duran's faster. And Duran's also it's weird that he's as fast as he is because he's so he's very built. He's like a bodybuilder type frame. He's huge. But he's still really fast. And they've got David Hamilton was another guy. He's hurt now, but he was stealing a bunch of bases. Cedar Rafaela steals bases. This is a pretty athletic team when they're firing on all cylinders. They just haven't been.
Well, I mean, the White Sox did just throw out Cedric Mullins and Gunnar Henderson their last game because they won a single game against
I love that. I love that. And that's not I actually kind of like the Orioles, but it's just nice to see them get humbled every now and then. It's nice, especially after the Red Sox split with the White Sox. It's they're not getting swept by everyone in the division. Fuck you, AL East.
No, I mean, the Mets came in and took all of those games. I was in attendance for at least one of those games to receive a very sweet Frank Thomas back-to-back bobblehead.
That's cool.
And to just watch the Mets because I prefer to watch them.
They're better.
The White Sox.
Yeah, I just saw the Mets beat the holy hell out of the Red Sox also. Although the highlight of the game for me was actually Pete Alonso struck out and he took the bat and he snapped it over his knee, just broke it in half, which was very impressive, I have to say.
That's why he's my future ex-husband. He doesn't know that. But he will. Yeah.
He will.
So he might be married, maybe I am too, but who knows what's going to happen.
I think it's just like that's more of a loose implication than anything else, It's more of like it's an implication. It's not anything set in stone.
Are those ties really that strong? No. Really feel like
Pete Alonso listening to this being like, what the fuck?
I know. Really feel
Why are they talking about me?
I love you. I'm sorry. That's also like his favorite Met. So that, maybe he doesn't care. Who knows?
Soon to be former Met, but
right.
I think.
Soon to also be his favorite former player because now he probably hates him. But hey, we're gonna take a quick break because we're gonna dip into what the series looks like and all of the lefties that you might see soon. So
great.
BRB.
Great.
Writing down when this break is. Woof. Okay, welcome back. So obviously we can go over these pitching matchups. You mentioned how your team is only left-handers. And you will see Garrett Crochet in this series, but we'll start first game. It'll be Davis Martin and Nick Pivetta, so that should be good. Garrett Crochet.
Who is Davis Martin?
Okay, so let me double check his age because I'm pretty sure he's a child. He was out. He was injured at the beginning of the season.
Is this like the movie Rookie of the Year where he's like some 12-year-old that they just kind of found?
He's 27? Oh, wow. He's older than I thought. Okay, so yeah, he came up from the minor leagues. He'd been there for a little bit, apparently. Had Tommy John surgery, came back, and he looks better. Like he's developed more than one pitch, which is promising. I think that he could be good
someday.
And I mean, he's not even bad. He wasn't necessarily bad last season either. He's just,
What's he been this year? Like, what's his ERA for this year?
He is sitting at, I just had it pulled up when I was looking at those probable pitchers.
This is way better the show I do. We usually will have like a preview of the series, but we literally named our most recent episode Funeral and didn't even bother with this stuff after the last series. So this is good for me. This is good for me to find out about these guys.
So he is at 3.62.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So again, he's not
a pretty good year.
He's 0-3, whatever. He's done 32 strikeouts, so there's that. Again,
it's kind of a small sample size, is what I'm.
It is because, like I said, he's only been back for a little over, like maybe 2 months now. At this point, I don't even think it's been that long.
Is he starting games, or is he like a bulk guy, or?
He's been starting. I mean, we've got like 3 starters, I think, that like we can count on. Like there are 3 people where I'm like, you know what? I could probably guess it's going to be at least one of these 3 guys that you'll face. Right. The other 2 starters that we have are just going to, I mean, it might be a fan that they pulled in because they saw, how fast he could throw.
That's cool. That's a good way to get the community involved.
Yeah. Poor Nick Nastrini, who started the other day, came out like, I think in the first inning.
R.I.P. Nick Nastrini.
Jared Schuster came in. He was great. Jared Schuster was great.
I love Schuster. I think they should just put him in the rotation and let him cook.
Yeah, they should. I'm for that, honestly. I had that thought the other day. Then Saturday, you will see Garrett Crochet, who is good.
I mean, Pivetta's for that first one. Pivetta's like inconsistent. That's the issue with him. He's gonna get a decent deal with someone this offseason. I would bet he gets like 3 years, $50 million or something like that. He's just inconsistent.
Yeah.
He'll have periods like a full month where you're like, wow, this guy might be an all-star. Or, he'll have an inning where he gives up like 5 runs and then he strikes out 8 batters in a row. I'm not kidding. He's done that twice this year, by the way, where he struck out 8 consecutive batters. And that ties like an all-time Red Sox record for consecutive strikeouts. But he'll just like implode 4 runs and just randomly. So like there's, it's the talent's always been there as far back as when he was a Philly. His mental game, he's just never been able to get all the way there. Sometimes it doesn't matter, but he's like 32 now. At some point, he's going to have to learn how to pitch, and maybe he's getting closer to that. But
I was about to see, he's 31.
He's been around forever, right?
Yeah.
Like he feels like
he has been around forever.
Like they traded for him during the COVID season. And it was
Uh-huh.
and he was like, he's been like a decent acquisition. He's a perfectly adequate number 4 starter. Not an ace, not even really a middle of the rotation guy. But if he's your number 4 guy, you're actually in a pretty okay shit place. I don't. If he's having one of his good starts, Red Sox probably win this one. And if he isn't, I would say Davis Martin's getting his first win of the season. So we'll see.
Davis Martin too. Yeah, Nick Pavetta's been around forever. I couldn't.
The Canadian legend. Red Sox have 2 of them between him and Tyler O'Neill.
I love it. His birthday is also Valentine's Day. That's fun. I love Valentine's Day. So
Nicky Valentine.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah, so your second game, you see Garrett Crochet, who's been good. He comes up against Cooper Criswell, who's seems like a small sample size, not as much as Davis Martin. What's been going on with him this season?
Criswell's been kind of funny. So the Red Sox didn't really make a lot of moves this offseason. There were 2 like major league deals, and one of them was Lucas Giolito, and the other was Cooper Criswell. They signed Criswell for like $1 million 1 year, but you have team control over him because I think he was DFA'd by the Rays or something. Anyway, he was a reliever leading up to this season. They stretched him out in spring training, and there were all these jokes like, "Oh, don't worry, Red Sox are going full throttle. They've got Cooper Criswell." And then Giolito got hurt, and Criswell ended up pitching a lot more as a starter than people expected, and it's turned out that you could hide him as your number 5 starter, and he might throw a good game for you. Like, he hasn't been bad. Ideally, he's a swingman or like AAA depth. He was very good in AAA this year, so maybe ideally he's a swingman. And occasionally he throws this really inexplicably good start. Like he'll go 7 shutout innings, or he'll go 5, 6 shutout innings. But mostly he's a guy that you're just trying to get through 5 still in the game and hoping that the bullpen can take care of the rest. I don't think he's bad. He's just kind of like a right-handed junk baller, like there are a lot of those guys. Good sweeper. No, he knows how to pitch. Unlike he's like kind of the anti-Pivetta in some ways, because he really does know how to pitch. He knows how to set a guy up, and he works really quickly, which I love. Like some of the games with him, like you're out of there 2.5 hours. Like, boom, thank you, Cooper, thank you. I don't hate him. There are players on the team that I'm like, okay, like I'm ready for them to move on. Criswell, please bring him back for another year. Give him off arbitration or whatever he wants. Like this is a great guy to have on your 40 man. Maybe not in your rotation though.
Yeah, that's fair. And then Sunday, for the last game of the series, you see Chris Flexen, who actually had a good game the last outing. He was okay, which is surprising because normally I get stuck with Chris Flexen starts to cover, and I'm just like, I hate that this is my chosen path going forward to cover this team as Chris Flexen starts.
He's what, like 2-13 or something?
2-14, yeah.
Okay, I was close.
Very close.
I mean, he's a free agent this year, so I've been like loosely keeping an eye on him just because I do my tracker at the end of the season. And starting pitcher who's getting a full season of starts. If like Jordan Lyles could have a career as long as he has, why not Chris Flexen? No, really, why is he actually as bad as the win losses and everything indicates?
See, that's yes and no. He is one that can really, really frustrate me, but I can't place all of the blame on him when there is not a single Sox batter that can hit the ball. in the air. I
Even
mean,
like what's with like Robert? Like, is he just not even trying at this point?
he, you might not even see him in this series. He
Oh,
was
thank
having some
God.
hamstring tightness and was
Thank you,
pulled out
Luis. Thank you. That's very considerate of you.
off of the
I
last
saw him
game.
play Woo Sox back, not the Woo Sox, sorry, the Paw Sox back when they were still in Pawtucket. This was like 2019. The dude was hitting like 479. Like, and
Mhm.
just like one of the best right-handed power bats I've ever gotten to see as a prospect. Dude
Mhm.
was incredible. I feel bad for him, kind of just being on his own there. It's like him and Crochet, and that's it.
Yeah. He and Luis Robert, he's been okay. He definitely took a big dip kind of mid-season, and he's finally getting back to kind of Luis Robert that we knew, but he still hasn't been great. And when you lose your big three at the very beginning of the season to injury, there isn't a ton of
Yeah.
coming back from that as is. And Moncada is still not like, I mean, he's
Yeah.
just now rehabbing. I don't think he'll be back.
He's got like a $25 million option. Do you think
Yeah.
there's any chance the White Sox take that? Or do you think that he's
Mm,
just got to go somewhere else?
I think he might just go somewhere else. It doesn't make sense at this point. And but yeah, I mean, I can't completely put blame on Chris Flexen when Andrew Benintendi is like your hottest hitter. So
Yeah, he did go kind of nuts there for a couple of weeks,
a
it
couple
seemed
weeks.
like. Yeah,
Nicky
like he was really
Lopez.
hitting. He hit some
Nicky
home runs.
Lopez finally got his first home
I
run.
like Nicky Lopez. He's one
I
of these
do
guys that
too.
always kills the Red Sox, but he's a very good defender. He was great with the Royals. He's very
Hmm.
underrated with them. Yeah, like that's the thing. Like individually, there are players on the White Sox that are kind of fun or like
Yeah.
good, but it just seems like they don't play. Like they just don't have a full team and or like a cohesive unit. It doesn't seem like really exists there.
No, no, not. And I mean, again, it's a lot of just previous Royals in everywhere.
Just
I
like
mean,
Chris gets his buddies.
yeah, it's like Getz and Co. And I mean, it was Pedro Gafal until like what? It's been 2 months or so now
Yeah.
that he's been gone. I mean, it's kind of just Royals adjacent, but I do like Nicky Lopez. You obviously do not get the Chicago local channels when watching these games, but he has a commercial. He had to replace Tim Anderson, who used to do these commercials. And Tim Anderson is very vibrant. He's very charismatic. He's fun. So like his acting wasn't painful to watch in commercials for local things. But Nicky Lopez now has a commercial with Howard Inkin. He's an attorney here. And he's an
That's
injury lawyer at that.
I love local ads like that though, with like local celebrities.
And Nicky Lopez, famously from Naperville, Illinois. So he's always like, I've got Naperville and Nicky Lopez here and blah, blah, blah. And Nicky's like, and I've got Howard. What is your nickname? And then he does this like very Ken from the Barbie movie laugh alongside it. And it
Oh my
like, it's
god.
painful, but at the same time, I was like, this is my favorite commercial of all time just because of that like really ridiculous, like Ken just got his feelings hurt and is laughing through it kind of laugh. And so that's why I probably just have a weird crush on Nicky Lopez from that commercial.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I kinda do too now, just from the description of that commercial.
I'll find it. Even if I have to like screen record it, I'm gonna find it and share it with you because
Please.
it's just so good. And he's in like all black and he's got like his backwards hat and he's got like skate shoes. I'm like, this is the skater boy that I would have went for in high school. I would have tried to date Nicky Lopez from the ages 14 to probably like 22. Just love him. Anyway, they're facing Bayo, who,
Bayo's inconsistent, but when he's
yeah.
on, he's very good. I do think that he's got a future as like a number 3 starter. They paid him. He got a big extension before the season started. It's
Mhm.
just kind of been trial and error, but he's been better the second half. And when he's firing on all cylinders, he's straight up electric. So we'll see with him. I kind of lean towards the Red Sox on that one just because of Flexen being flexing. But hey,
Mhm.
Red Sox have been getting their asses beat by a lot of pitchers that have struggled against other teams. So, if the bats continue to do what they've been doing, might not be so good for them. So we'll see. Got to play the games. I think
Yeah,
I'm
I
going
mean,
to the second one, so I might be seeing Garrett Crochet pitch.
oh, that's the one that's really worth going to. Watching Garrett Crochet in person is actually a ton of fun.
I have
He
weird
was.
feelings towards him, but please continue. Sorry.
What are your feelings towards
I
him?
don't like that whole thing with like the trade where he had all like
Oh,
if you're gonna trade him, he has all of these demands. It's like, dude, like you're being quite a bit of a diva for a guy that's had like one good full season.
no, that's completely valid.
Yeah. Also, like it's like, dude, like, don't you want to get off of the White Sox? Like, I like don't like. I don't know. Like, I feel like if I'm playing like that, like for a team like that, and I have a chance to compete for a World Series, yeah, sure, I'll do whatever.
I mean, Michael Kopech just went to the Dodgers and has been out of his
Great for them.
mind.
He's been great for them.
Yeah, and I would think that, and I was very frustrated. I have stood by Michael Kopech. I have been an apologist for him.
Former Red Sox.
Yeah, I mean, forever at this point. And I'm not going to lie when I say I feel like this kind of redemption for this to be happening, for him to be so great as, a Dodger, because he didn't care about the White Sox. He was not listening to pitching coaches. I probably wouldn't listen to Ethan Katz either at this point, because, I mean, his track record
exactly?
is not great. Just because you were like Lucas's BFF and high school or something doesn't mean you're great. So I feel this joy, this kind of like I told all of you this back in 2018 that he was going to be great, and here he is. So yeah, I mean, I don't understand, and all of the pitchers do great once they leave the White Sox.
Yeah, well, hopefully that goes for Giolito next year too. I would be very happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, he went from worst pitcher in baseball to throwing a no-hitter. So
we'll see.
I mean, you could
see what happens.
You could have good Giolito if someone wants to be there to support.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because he was throwing like sorry, once. Excuse me.
Ooh,
I think I muted that in time.
You probably did.
Yeah, but no, like he was throwing 97 in spring training, and that's kind of what blew his elbow up. But he looked really good for like the 2 innings that he had there, and it seems like they have a vision for what they want him to be. Bailey's been really good at getting the most out of his guys. There were a bunch of pitchers on this team, especially the first half, that like this team was not expected to be in the conversation at all come August, and they have been. So I think that if they're willing to spend and everything and get a little bit more support in there, Red Sox are a team to watch next year. And Giolito, I don't see any reason he can't just step into the Nick Pivetta number 4 starter role. And maybe there's a little bit of upside there.
Yeah. I do think he's got great potential, because as long as, like I said, as long as there is someone there that is actually helping him and developing him, because the White Sox just do not have that anymore. They don't have anybody to develop anyone anymore. As long as he's got someone to help him out, I think he'll be great. And again, like I just said, we see it everywhere. We see Dylan Cease having just an insane year in San Diego.
Threw a no-hitter with the Padres.
Exactly. Eric Fetty still not getting the run support, but he's doing better. Ronaldo Lopez is my best example of this right now. I mean, he goes to Atlanta and is one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yep. If it wasn't for Chris Sale, another former great White Sox great. I mean, that's a guy that's got a real shot at the Cy Young one. I think it's Sale fairly handedly, which honestly, after watching him struggle for like 4 years in a row, I'm so happy for the guy, because you could tell how much he hated that. You could tell, like, the dude just goes out there and competes. And I keep saying, like, I'm not mad about the Red Sox trading him, because it's like, you know what? If he was still in Boston, something would have, like, he would have, like, gotten, like, pulled his groin or something playing, like, a too intense game of Hungry Hungry Hippos. Like, that would have been it for the season. Or, like, an anvil would have fallen on him or something. Like, he was cursed. Somebody, he was cursed as long as he was in Boston, so I'm glad that he's having success in Atlanta. I
You
really
would have
am.
pissed him off with a jersey. He would
Yep.
have picked the wrong pair of scissors, and he would have injured himself.
Yep, he would have stabbed himself right in the thigh, and it would have like disconnected the muscle there. He wouldn't have been able to walk for 6 months.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
it would have been awful.
It was a knife in that uniform incident. We did find that out. We did some
That's hilarious
investigative journalism covering the anniversary of that. I think 2 years ago.
That's awesome. And totally on brand for Sale, who just seems like that kind of guy who would just have a hunting knife with him.
Yeah, why not? And I love him for that. I unapologetically will always love and defend Chris Sale for my entire life. Ride or die with him.
You and a lot of Red Sox fans.
Yes. Well, I mean, a lot of White Sox fans are still in that, like, ride or die for Chris Sale camp.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you win a World Series for anybody, they're going to really appreciate you for a long, long time.
And I always have to look up ages because it's always wild to me. Let's see, how old are you?
Sale's like 34 or 35 now, I think.
35. He's
getting up there.
He's younger than I am. Okay.
He's it's interesting with him too, because I thought that like there was no chance of like the Hall of Fame for him prior to the season, but if he adds a Cy Young award to his resume and he keeps this up for like maybe not at this level, like because what he's doing this year is ridiculous, but if he's like an effective pitcher, if he stays healthy and has like an ERA in the mid threes, I think there's a legitimate case for him, which would be really cool to see, and I'd be really curious which team he would go in with.
Yeah, that's my biggest question is what hat he's going to be in.
I don't think it would be the White Sox. But
no.
Red Sox, he was only healthy for like 2 years, so it's like, can you really justify? I don't know, but he won a World Series with them, so who knows? Who knows? Either
way, I love him. I will support him. So you mentioned Duran as being someone to really look out for, especially on the base passes. Yep. Would you say he's the biggest threat right now for the White Sox? Or is there somebody else that might be up there too?
Against the righties, Wilyer Abreu. He's been consistent all season. Now that's a dude that is not getting as much attention as I think he would have if he was with the Yankees or if he was with like like a more direct threat for playoff contention. But this is a guy that has a legitimate shot at Rookie of the Year. He's having a really good season, and he's one of these guys that the stats don't tell the whole story because all this guy does is have terrific at bats. He has a rifle for an arm. He hits home runs. He has 30 doubles. He steals a couple of bases. He does everything above average. Like, he's a very good player. He's the kind of player that championship teams need, but never get as much attention as, like, the true superstars. But he's the kind of guy that if he gets a full season of at-bats, like, 35 home runs isn't out of the question. Handles right field at Fenway extremely well. One of the best arms. I think, honestly, the best arm since, like, the Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley Jr. era. I'd take his arm over Hunter Renfroe's. Wow. And he's young. He's like 25, so he's still getting a little bit better. I don't want to say he came out of nowhere, but he is a guy that when they got him, he was the second guy. It was Christian Vazquez for him and Manuel Valdez. And Valdez was at the time a little more advanced. And Abreu has just been, since they called him up last year, has just been electric when he's playing, when he's healthy. Really good player. So that's a dude to look out for as well, who hasn't gone totally cold. And Tristan Casas, you always kind of have to watch. He's playing, like, his rib cage is in a lot of pain right now. So, because he was out with a fractured rib, and it's like, well, it still hurts, but tolerate it. Sorry, it wasn't a fractured rib. It was like something with like the cartilage. It was like torn cartilage or something. Something really painful. He said that basically any time he swung, it felt like he was being stabbed. And everything else is okay, but when he makes contact, like, it hurts like hell. But he's got as good of a command of the strike zone as anyone in baseball. Big, strong guy. Tons of power when he really gets into one. So that's a guy that if you get him going also, like if his timing is down, that's a guy that can put up like, like a series with like 5 home runs and like 15 RBIs on you before you even know it. Like if it's a 4-game series or something. He's somebody that if he's the guy that until he's no longer with the team, I'm just assuming is going to make the All-Star team. Like the level of talent, just pure talent from a hitter and as he's like gets older and matures a little bit, like he's like think for peak, and I'm not exaggerating here. Think Freddie Freeman with less of a hit tool but more power. That's how good of a hitter he is.
Okay, yeah.
He's not there quite yet. He's not like that. Them are fighting words. He's got to stay healthy. A lot has to go right. But that's like the 1%, like number one outcome there.
I mean, yeah, I get it. And the sample size that I do see him play, because obviously I'm not nonstop watching the Red Sox, but he's one of those players that I try to pay closer attention to. So I can absolutely see that comparison.
He's funny also. I had when he was rehabbing, I had there are two things with Cassis that I learned this because when he was rehabbing, we got to talk to him a bit. And when he talks to you, he's like, you feel like you're the only other person in the room. Like he makes like there's like a lot of eye contact and he's really thinking about what he's saying. And that's gotten him in trouble because I think he can be honest to a fault. With people, but like it's such bullshit with big sports in general. Like, oh, we want our guys to be honest, but not too honest. You know, like he's also just funny. Like, I saw him doing like batting practice, in the locker room, and is wearing an eye patch for it, like taking swings with an eye patch, and I was like, what the fuck? So he goes and like comes back later to his locker, and I go up to him and I'm like, hey, Tristan, you got a second? He's like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, were you wearing an eye patch earlier? And he looks me dead in the eyes and goes, no. And there's just this pause, just this silence for a full 5 seconds. And I go, oh, sorry about that. And he goes, that's okay. That's the whole conversation. And there's like a joke with the other people there that like like a player isn't in their clubhouse until they've had an awkward conversation with me. But I know I saw him with that and he was just fucking with me. I know that he was. And I'm not even mad about it because like it was funny. It was objectively very funny.
Right.
But that's the kind of guy that he is, like where you're just like you're not really sure with him. He's like a real human being. A lot of these guys, they don't act like human beings. They're kind of like robots that were designed to play baseball. So I really like Cassis. I think of guys other than, I mean, there's a couple of guys that I've gotten to know really well just from being in AAA. So like, obviously I root for them a little bit more, but if like, I'm talking like from just like a fan, Cassis is my favorite in a long ass time. Like he's just like, you can't not root for the dude.
I get it. It's funny that you mentioned because I feel like there are so many robots. Like I'm convinced that Aaron Judge is a robot.
Yeah. Like he's a robot that was designed to play baseball, a baseball Metanotron or something.
And like maybe Shohei is a robot, but like a charming robot. Like,
I have a different theory about Shohei.
Chip.
My theory about Shohei is that he is the protagonist of like a shonen manga about baseball that escaped into the real world.
I love that idea.
Because first of all, look at him.
Yeah.
He looks like a shonen hero that has escaped into the real world. Second of all, his just like his ability, he's like the protagonist of a shonen manga that's escaped into the real world. Like everything points towards that direction. So like I'm just saying, like if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
But he also looks like a Disney prince at the same time.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, he really does. Like
he does.
Like
it's really weird.
Yeah, no, he's like too handsome.
Yeah. And then there's like the Garrett Crochets the Garrett Coles of the world, who I'm just like, you're a robot, but then you listen to him during his interviews, I was like, actually, no, you're funny as hell.
Yeah, and he sounds like Kermit the Frog, which is great.
Yes, but I enjoy his just deadpan, very sarcastic humor. And I was like, okay, you're not a robot. You're just good at what you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think to be a good pitcher, you kind of have to be able to hide your emotions pretty. Like, I think that most pitchers are total sociopaths if they're any good at it, because you have to be. Like, it's literally, it's like you versus their entire team. Like, you have to be able to just say fuck everybody except for me. And there were guys that are a little too much in that direction. Certain guys that we don't have to name, one of which pitched for the White Sox, one of which got very fat in Mexico this year, and also got cholera somehow.
A lot of chimichangas down there.
Yeah. I actually got to go to Mexico City this year. My sister lives there, and I did get to see Rojos Diablos play, and I got to see a 41-year-old Robinson Cano hit a ball about 400 225 feet off of a pitcher that I am relatively confident I could get a hit off of.
That's
Like,
amazing.
would not be pitching in the States, but like, it's cool seeing like Cano. I'm like awesome.
Yeah.
Like there were like I'm trying to think if there was anybody that played for the White Sox at any point that were playing there, because there were some names that I had not thought of in a long time, like Franklin Barreto, or Beretta, I think was his last name. Archimedes, Aristays or something like that. He played for the Reds for a little bit. Just like names that it's an elephant's graveyard for baseball players, basically.
There's actually a team. They're not in Chicago, despite being called
The Chicago Dogs.
Chicago Dogs.
I love the Chicago Dogs. I think the guy I think Cam Bouger pitched for them for a little bit. Who's with the Red Sox.
I was about to say there have been a ton of like random former MLB players that have been there.
I didn't know they weren't actually in Chicago.
Huh?
Where are they then? Are they in Illinois at least?
Which is close to. I mean, it's relatively close to Chicago. It's not. See, so I'm in Des Plaines, and Rosemont is like 5 minutes away. So we can go to a ton of Dogs games if we want. It's very close. They have a very lovely mall there too.
How close are these places? This is a really niche question that might be totally out of date because this was like 10 years ago. But how close is this to like the Lego, like the giant Lego store that has like rides in it and stuff?
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about? Because I stayed at a hotel across the street from that place, and that's like the one thing I remember from it.
It's not that far. I'm trying to think. Honestly, it's really not far at all. Maybe like
I liked Chicago when I was there. Like I enjoyed it. It was a very nice place to visit. I feel like the winters must be terrible there.
Yes,
but they're bad here in New England too, so I can't talk.
But most recently, Carlos Zambrano.
Oh shit! There's a last on the past
for a while, which
that's cool.
We have to go.
Oh wow! That is he.
Amazing.
That's like Jose Canseco was playing for the Worcester Tornadoes here like 10 years ago. He was like in his 50s and he was pitching. He was throwing a knuckleball, and he wasn't playing in the game that I went to. And that was like, you have to go when these things are happening and check it out. You just do.
Well, yeah, I got lucky. It's been, actually very recently I got to see Paul Skeens right before the call.
Oh, wow.
Playing, but I was going initially. I didn't realize it was a Skeens day. Yeah. Alex Manoah was the pitcher for the other team.
Old Gromit, yeah.
Yasmani Grandal was rehabbing.
Another old friend. Pirates friend now, but
will love him forever. And then it was Skeens that was pitching. But the year prior to that, it was Vinny Velasquez. Vinny Velo, we love him.
I remember him.
Kyle Hendriks, Cubs pitcher.
Oh yeah, the professor.
The professor was pitching, and I was like, if I can go see these two pitchers for $10 in the lawn at a minor league game, then
I love minor league games.
I'm gonna go.
Like they're so much fun, especially when you do see. Not even necessarily a big league, because I was saying, like, I saw Luis Robert play for like I think who's the White Sox AAA team? I'm having a complete brain fart on this. Yeah, the Charlotte Knights, when he was playing for them, I got to see him play there. That was really cool.
Yeah, we've seen Kopech and Giolito when they were on the Knights. Yeah, we've seen a lot of rehabbed. Nicky Delmonico, personal favorite.
Oh, I remember Nicky Delmonico. I have no idea what he's doing now. I get him, and oh my god, there was another guy who was like a first base, third base type, and I think he like ended up playing in Japan for a bit. I'm blanking on the name, but they're like similar profile to Delmonico.
Oh, wow! Delmonico is back in Birmingham.
How's he doing?
Oh no, he's a hitting coach. Sorry, he's a hitting coach in Birmingham, which doesn't really check out at all, but that's interesting. My daughter, the very first MLB game we went to was a White Sox game. I think they played maybe the Mariners. Nicky Delmonico was in left field. That's where our seats were. And for some reason, she could get Delmonico out. She could not get Nicky out, so it just came out Icky Delmonico. So
That's just a great name, Icky
that's his
Delmonico. I
name.
like that. I like that.
She was 5, maybe.
That rules. I'm
Yeah.
calling anybody. So he's Nicky Lopez now, basically.
Nicky Lopez, Icky Delmonico. Yeah. Who knows? Nicky Lopez could have been her dad if I had had my skater boy dreams, but alas. But then we would have had to live in Kansas City for a while. That wouldn't have worked out.
Pass. Actually, no, I like Kansas City, but
yeah, it's not.
I don't like the Royals. I just like the city. It's a fun city.
We're taking the kids there next summer. We're gonna do some like kind of easily drivable ballparks they haven't been to.
That's good. Kaufman's a good one from what
I've heard. Kaufman. They have not been to Cleveland, so we're gonna go there. I'm a good parent and I have not taken them to Wrigley, but we're gonna do that anyway. And then I'm trying to think. There might have been one other. I think we might do Minnesota.
Oh, cool. I've heard like that's a very Target Field is really fun.
Yeah.
As bad as the Metrodome was, like Target Field is great.
Oh, and then St. Louis. We're gonna do St. Louis.
I stayed in the Westin across the street from the stadium there. You can see it from the room. That's a gorgeous stadium, and that's a really good baseball city.
See, I love Kaufman, and I do. I love going to St. Louis. I think their ballpark is beautiful, despite me hating those teams. And if Eric Fetty is still there, then I'll be happy to see him again, old friend. Wow, we're just like at the point in this podcast where we're just naming some dudes.
We're just naming dudes back and forth. That's great. This is just what dudes do. Just name other dudes.
Just 2 dudes naming dudes.
As one does.
I was going to ask you the 2 other questions I always like to ask are, what are the keys for the Red Sox to take this, and then what are your fears heading into the series against the very tough, very good difficult White Sox?
Yeah, AA champion White Sox. I mean, the keys to the series is just the offense showing up. Really, like if they can hit, then I'm not really particularly scared of the White Sox bats. They don't seem to be very good, but the Red Sox bats haven't been very good either. I think that they're, and Crochet's very good. Crochet's a very good pitcher. So, that's one where that's not a favorable matchup for the Red Sox getting Crochet against Criswell. But Criswell, they did win his last start, which was against, it was against somebody that was much better than him. That was much, much, much better than him. So that happens sometimes, every now and then Cooper Criswell pulls off the W, and it's not like the White Sox are good, so maybe. But my fears are just, Red Sox continue not hitting.
Yeah.
That's
it could be really a very low-scoring series for both.
You know what's going to happen, though? Like I'm saying this, both teams are going to hit. The Red Sox are just going to get blown out. Like Benintendi is going to have a full revenge series and hit like 9 home runs or something, and like make out with Alex Cora's wife in front of him or something. I don't know, like just to add insult to injury.
Oh, that would, yeah. I mean, maybe
then he can get it.
Maybe it could happen. I would fly out to Boston to see it. Like that one time I was in Boston and I forgot to message you. Whoopsie. I would fly out to Boston for that to happen. Andrew Vaughn, he's been sort of hitting too lately.
Vaughn's. I don't know what to make of Vaughn. I don't know if he's like a better hitter than he actually is. He's just on the White Sox, or if this is like all he's capable of. Because he was a really high draft pick, wasn't he?
He was.
And it's not that he's a bad hitter. I just with how high they drafted him and everything, and like being a quarter infielder, you think like, I don't know, like 35 home runs.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I actually just very recently had this conversation where I think that had he been on any other team, he would be getting those like 35 home runs. He's one of those where he was a Golden Spikes winner in college. Yeah, like he's really good.
Really good.
But he came in to kind of replace the, well-loved Jose Abreu, who completely fell off.
Yeah, who I think should come back to the White Sox next year.
I mean, at honestly,
this point, just just throw the fans a bone,
Right. Just retire his number.
Yeah, just let him finish it where it started.
But he came in to replace him, and they had no idea what to do with him because Abreu still wanted those. He still wanted to be in these games. He wasn't going to go anywhere. He wasn't giving Vaughn a chance, so they were putting him in like right field for whatever reason. So I don't think they had a plan for him initially because Abreu didn't want to give up those starts. And so they just kind of didn't develop him the way he should. So if he was on another team, yeah, he'd probably be excellent. He'd probably be a great first baseman, but instead he's on the White Sox. And that's all I can. That's all I can.
Poor Frank Thomas.
Oh gosh. Yeah, poor Frank Thomas, indeed.
Just having to be eternally associated with either the White Sox or the Oakland A's now.
Yeah.
Because he finished his career with the A's, just like Nomar Garciaparra.
Frank Thomas is usually on the pre- and post-game shows, too. And
good for him.
He
seems really likable.
He is. He hates this team, I think. Which who doesn't, honestly? If you're still listening to this at an hour in and you're like, I love the White Sox, then you're on the wrong podcast channel. Yeah. Go listen to the Red Sox podcasts instead, I think.
I feel like you'd be on you listen to some kind of like a podcast for masochists,
Yeah.
Like that's might be what you're looking for.
I still watch like every White Sox game, even the ones I don't have to cover. And I'm just like, why am I actually doing this to myself?
There's comfort in it. I don't know. I like the routine. That's the thing. Like, I'm burnt out. I'm so burnt out on this season. And I have been since like early July when things were doing well. But I know that like a month into the offseason, I'm going to be just like, fuck, I wish there was a game on or something like that. And it, like it's even when baseball's bad, and for the White Sox it has been very bad for a few years now, it's still baseball. Like it's still, there's still comfort in that. So I don't blame anybody who continues watching even as the team is not good. Same with the Red Sox. Like we've had, not as bad, but still multiple seasons where they've just completely collapsed in August, which honestly, like that's frustrating because it's like you get your hopes up for a little bit. Wow, they're active at the deadline. This is going to be, and they're done. Okay.
You go into sicko mode, and it is what it is. Yeah. But like you said, baseball's going to be over, and then I'm like, how many days left until pitchers and catchers report? Like it's on my calendar. I just mark off the days. So it's just how it is.
Yeah. Anyway, is what it is.
Before we check off, because I can't imagine somebody still listening to us just just name dudes. Who's your World Series pick this year?
Man, that's a good question because it doesn't seem like there's any like real runaway
team. Be anyone.
Just based on what I've seen from teams that have just beaten the holy shit out of the Red Sox, I'm going to say it's going to be between the Astros and the Mets, and I think the Astros are going to win the World Series because when they're they're just always good. It's infuriating, but they're just like
they started off so bad and they're
so really bad. Good. But the thing is that they overcame that.
Yeah.
And if you can overcome that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one I've heard the Astros kind of been thrown in. I have not heard the Mets. Normally it's like a Phillies kind of thing, but interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. The Phillies have been too cold the second half. I just have a hard time with that one. I think Harper's playing hurt, and that's tough if you don't have him at full power.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my pick. Who's yours?
Well, see, it was the Phillies for a really long time. I really think I think the O's are going to make it.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be the
so
O's.
Cool.
I really have not narrowed down on a National League team yet. Who knows? Like, it could be the Dodgers, and I'd be bummed.
I'd love it to be the Dodgers.
It could be. It would make more sense for it to be like the Dodgers, but I think the O's might finally have like that fighting chance to do it this year, because I think they were so close. They were so close last year to like really doing something. Then I think it's kind of their year to do it. we'll see. Who knows?
That'd be
Anyway,
cool. That would be very cool.
Please let everyone know where they can find you if they would like to listen to more rambling, because I know I am on your show from occasion. So if they love this,
you are on the show for occasion. Yeah, I do 2 podcasts. The first is more like just like general talk and commentary. That's Pod by the River. Find it on Twitter at Pod by the River. I also do like an interview show with players. We actually have players from all over the league. It's not just the Red Sox system. Obviously, it's a little easier for us to get Red Sox players, but we've had guys from all over on it. And that's To the Show We Go, and it's mostly minor leaguers. We have the occasional major leaguer on it. Like we had like John Schreiber and Cody Fundenberg on it last year. So, like it's not usually anybody too crazy, especially. I mean, we got a couple of guys from the Red Sox that are now like a bit more legit, but yeah, like it's mostly minor leaguers at this point. But yeah, that's where you can find me on Twitter at EdHand89.
Perfect. Thank you so much. As always, it is always a blast talking to you. We'll
absolutely
do this again in the off season when it's our turn to trade off. And yeah, thank you. Best of luck in this series. Well, it's probably going to be really boring, but it's baseball.
Yeah, it is baseball. We've got a few weeks left, so let's just enjoy it while we can.
All right. Well, talk to you later. Bye, everyone.